What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. We gonna talk about Paul George, a guy that been. I want to be a Laker. I grew up as wanting to be a Laker. I have a chance to follow Kobe. He's retired. He can coach and mentor me. You have Kareem. You have Magic in that front office making decisions. He's known as a winner, known as a champion, known as a guy that helped the Dodgers win, help the team in WNBA, the Sparks win, and Paul George could have been a part of that. He decided to stay with Russell Westbrook, and they was one of the most disappointing teams last year, winning one game more than they won last year, bringing Carmelo in, Paul George in. Not only that, but they got put out in the first round by a rookie and no other All Stars, and they lost that game series in six. You can make an argument that Paul George should have been fouled, but they still would have to win Game 7, and they still would have to win overtime. It's not a guarantee they was going to win in overtime either, so they still could have possibly lost the series. Even if they went 7, it's still a disappointment losing in the first round when you have two All-Stars and two All-NBA players on the same roster. Carmelo, he didn't really fit in. They did lose Andre Robertson to injury. They was one of the best defensive teams, but was one of the worst offensive teams. Their offense picked up a little bit, but their defense fell off a cliff. Russell not really known as a defender. Carmelo not really known as a defender. Robertson getting replaced by Brewer, who's more of a risk taker and more of a gambler defensively, but not really a great defender. But he has the length and the wingspan and the speed to be a good defender. But he wasn't Robertson. Robertson is one of the best defensive players, an All NBA defensive player. Obviously, losing him was a big thing, but it shouldn't stop you from getting to the second round. I didn't think that was going to be Houston anyway, even with Robertson, but it would have been an interesting series. But here we are now. I was kind of shocked that he signed a 4-year deal, even though it is a player option. I was a little shocked that he went that far, considering that this team is as is, isn't going to be good enough to win a championship. They don't really have that much money to go out and get another big name free agent. Even for their bench, they probably can, but they'd be in the luxury tax if they get a couple of them. So I don't really know what they're really going to do. Their starting five is one of the best starting fives in the league. I would definitely agree with that. They was known as a dark horse contender all season. Even I said it, but then, like I said, they ended up getting knocked out in the first round by Utah. I like this team. I think they have potential. They still have to work through the growing pains of playing with other stars and having the ball, becoming more team oriented. I blame that mostly on Billy Donovan. He had a whole training camp in preseason to try to figure out what was going to go. He never took this team to another level. Even when they was fully healthy, they was a mediocre team at best. And even at the finish, they didn't finish that well either. So yes, 48 wins is a lot of wins. Yes, you had a guy that averaged a triple double, but you didn't really have nothing to show for it because you lost in the first round. So I was shocked that Paul George wanted to go there, knowing that it's not that much that they can do with this roster because Steven Adams getting paid $100 million. Paul George is going to get an extension, which means he's going to make more money than he would make if he would have opted in. And Russell Westbrook got a ridiculous contract, and you paying Carmelo Anthony $27 million. But like I said, we didn't see the best out of Robertson. We didn't see the best out of Carmelo. Maybe they can have this party, have this get together, talk to the coach, figure out some things, watch some footage, take apart some more of their games, get some more development in with this offseason and in the preseason to really try to get on the same page and figure out a way to get the best out of this roster. Like I said, I'm putting that on Billy Donovan mostly because that's his job as a coach, knowing his strengths and weaknesses of his players and getting the best out of them in the offense and the defensive end. And that's something that he failed to do all season, including in the playoffs. Not making the right adjustments and not putting his players in the right predicaments to succeed. Paul George did had a terrible game 6, averaging getting only 5 points. He had a great game 1. He was the reason why they won game 1, but he also was one of the major reasons why they didn't go 7 because his terrible game 6. But like I said, if he would have got fouled, they might have won that game, but they still had to play overtime and the game 7 and win. So this team is what it is. There's not really much they can do. He's going to be stuck with this roster because Steven Adams is locked down for 5 years. He got 4 left, I believe. Same with Russell. So they're not going to be that much different besides when Carmelo leaves after getting that $27 million opt-in, which is smart for him because he wasn't going to get that on the market. So it makes sense. But this team still has room to grow. This team has room to get better. This team has room and potential to be scary if they can get on the same page and get the right coach. And even if they believe it's Billy Donovan, he has to do more because he is in the West. He has the talent. He has no excuses this year, especially with Robertson coming back. All that stuff should have happened last year because they was new together. This year is really no excuse because they played the whole season with each other. Carmelo, Paul George, Steven Adams, and Russell, and they getting an added bonus with Robertson coming back, hopefully healthy for the rest of the season. Um, I just really want to know how this team going to be. I really want to know what they're going to do because they really can't get that much better. So I definitely want to see how they really will fare, knowing that the West top still will have the Warriors and Chris Paul. So with the Rockets, so I really want to know how good this team can really be in the Western Conference. At with also Billy Donovan being the coach and your best player being Russell Westbrook. A lot of people say Russell is one of the best players in the league. He averaged a triple double, but we really want to see how far he can carry the team as the man. We've seen Kevin Durant get into the finals. We've seen him be a champion, but we also seen James Harden lead a team to the Western Conference Finals twice, not once but twice, as the man, and not having Dwight Howard majority of that year. And even with Dwight Howard leaving, he actually got out of the first round last year with a 55-win team with no other All-Star. So Russell, if they really believe that he's better than KD, which some people do, even 2K, or if they think he's better than James Harden, which some people do, I don't. But we have to start seeing some results. You have another All-Star in Paul George. It's interesting to see how this team will function and how they will play together going into the future. So I'm all in on this Thunder team. So I'm a person that going to watch a lot of game, watch a lot of footage of this team, and I hopefully if they can't get it right with Billy Donovan, then hopefully they move on from him because this team, the amount of money that they're paying to keep this team together, if you getting put out in the first round in the next couple of years, even though the West is tough, that's a waste of cash. I know you want to be competitive. I know you want to fill up the seats. You have the best fans in the NBA, but at the same time, Russell Westbrook is only getting older. Paul George is almost 30. Carmelo's in his 30s. Steven Adams is young. But the more you waste these years just competing for mediocrity is more years you can't win a championship or you can be trying to rebuild. So it's give or take. You're not going to get a high lottery pick. Even if Carmelo comes off the books, they still going to have a hole um, to steal the field because they ain't gonna have still a lot of cap space anyway, especially if they re-sign Grant and other players like that to come back. Even with the Carmelo contract falling off next season, they don't really have that much room to get any better, even if he's a free agent next year. So, whew, they're in a tough predicament. One thing I would definitely say is Sam Presti is a guy that takes risks. Sam Presti is a guy that is willing to make and move the pieces to get other pieces. So we're going to see if he has another trade up his sleeves in the future or this year to try to get this team over the hump to be a real favorite against the Warriors or against a team like Boston and Philly, depending on what they do. We really want to see how great this team can be under Russell Westbrook. And even though he goes to bat for Billy Donovan, they had a huge expectations with this trade with Paul George and Carmelo going into the season, and they did not deliver. But let's see what maybe it was growing pains. Maybe they needed it some more time. They have no excuse going into the season healthy this year. So we're really going to see how good and great this team is and will become. And if they're not that good, they got Paul George on the long-term deal. They got Steven Adams on the long-term deal. They got Russell locked up. So they already know what they who these players are, what they can do, and how to utilize them. And it's all about putting it together and getting the best out this roster, which they haven't been able to do the last 2 years. And I think Russell will have to change a little bit more, knowing that Paul George is riding with him for the rest of the season. And going into the next couple seasons, they're going to be going to a lot of battles, a lot of wars. They're going to be growing together. They're going to be playing together. I also want to say the Lakers is a team that you have Brandon Ingram, you have Kyle Kuzma, you already have small forwards that can shoot the ball and can become potential superstars. Paul George, why would he go there knowing that he's going to take one of their minutes or one of them have to continue to come off the bench? Just stay in OKC. You got a top five roster, starting five especially. I mean, not a top five roster, but a top five starting five, and you playing with an MVP in Russell. So I don't know if the Lakers can really build a team better than this OKC team as of right now. Maybe in the future they can get better, especially if they get LeBron. That can happen instantly, but it's no guarantee LeBron is going to go to LA, and there's no guarantee you can have a better roster than what he has in OKC. Plus, he can get more money from OKC, even though he didn't sign in 5 years. He still can get them max dollars with those 4 years, and he's still playing with an MVP and a guy that's been a dominant player in Carmelo, even though he had a bad season, and a guy that's willing to do anything it takes to win in Steven Adams. Those things that you can't really find on other teams, and that's something that he has. With OKC, and also, like I said, Sam Presti is a guy that's willing to make the moves. One thing I didn't like was that they was willing to pay the money for this roster, but they wasn't willing to pay the money for James Harden in that roster. It's kind of crazy how they could have did it the same thing then, but they did it now. Maybe they learned from their mistake. Maybe they care more about winning. Whatever it is, they should have did that with James Harden, and they wouldn't be in this predicament. But now that they are in there, they was willing to pay him that money. They was willing to go close to that luxury tax or over it to keep certain players or get some other free agents. And after that, they can't add anybody at all. So that's what I'm saying. That's the scary part about this signing, is that Paul George is stuck with his starting five at least for 2 years. Even if, like I said, Carmelo leaves, they still don't have really that much space to really go out there and get somebody that can replace his talent in Carmelo Anthony. So that's the risk he took, but he seems to be happy and wants to stay with OKC. And if that's true, it's his decision, it's his career, and he has to live with the results either way. So we'll see what happens. Check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link will be in the description in the comment section below. Check out my Facebook page, analysisplayground.com. Link will be in the description in the comment section below. Like on Facebook to show support. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis, I'm gone. And let me know what you guys think about Paul George signing a 4-year extension to stay with the Oklahoma City Thunder and ride the win with Steven Adams, Roberson, and Russell Westbrook. Let me know.